Hi, Claudine Reid here. I am super glad that you could join me. I want to speak to you a little bit about creative thinking. When I think about creative thinking, especially where building my business is concerned or even growing any of my ideas, I've always leaned towards having more people on my team because creative people, or creative ideas rather, draw people to your ideas. My favourite author and mentor, John Maxwell, says that the way how you get great ideas is from several good ideas. The way how you get great ideas is from several good ideas, but that comes through the creative process. So the creative process adds value. It allows you to explore options that are bigger, better, wiser, wider and faster than your original ideas. Creative thinking allows you to embrace ambiguity, especially in this current climate that we are living in. It's uncertain, it's unprecedented, and we've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I've also learned that creative thinking allows me to connect the unconnected, to connect the unconnected. Sometimes, especially when we're having thought shower sessions with my amazing team, we have lots of dots all over the page and we think about how are we going to connect these parts that don't seem to be connected together. How are we going to put systems and a structure and a framework in place to connect them? Creative thinking has allowed me to get comfortable with the fear of failure. Look, in some instances, failure is inevitable. There are some things that are just not going to go well the first time. But if you embrace the concept of creative thinking, it allows you to be comfortable with failure. It allows you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Here's what I've also found. Creative thinking allows you to expand your thought process. And one of the ways how we've kind of navigated that space is if you think about creativity and innovation. They are two completely separate things. Creativity, more of a right brain tendency, and innovation, more of a left brain tendency. Creativity, and I kind of got this concept from Drew Rowland. He's the chief exec at one of the creative training leadership programs. He describes creativity as your thoughts, your ideas, your imagination, your expression, your concept, your problem solving, your ingenuity, your brainstorming, your thought showers, and the creative process. All of those things have everything to do with your thinking capacity, your thinking capacity. When we speak about innovation, we're talking about your doing capacity. We're talking about process, we're talking about value, we're talking about what you actually do, we're talking about implementation, we're talking about enablement, change, usefulness, and how you measure, more importantly, how you measure what you actually do. It's really, really important for you to kind of bring those two together because the two kind of work. Like they're like twins, right? They kind of go together, creativity and innovation. Creativity is the thinking part and innovation is the doing part. So in order for that to happen, we really want to try and minimize or get rid of, if we possibly can, those creativity killers. Creativity killers sound a little bit like this. Stay within the lines. They sound a little bit like this. Oh, it's never been done before. It sounds a little bit like this. Oh, it's too much work. You want to reduce, minimize, get rid of, kill even the creativity killers. And you want to ask the right type of questions. The right type of questions sound like this. Why must it be done this way? Why must it be done this way? What's the root cause of this problem? What are the underlying issues? What kind of metaphor or symbol helps explain this? And I really love the metaphoric or the organizational metaphoric analogy, which was developed in 1986 by Gareth Morgan. And I use it quite frequently with my team. The organizational metaphor allows you to look at different types of metaphors to stimulate your thinking and to enable managers or groups of people to interpret your context with new perspectives and prompts creativity in describing what the future could potentially look like. So Gareth kind of came up with different frames of reference and he think about your organization as a machine. He said, think about your organization perhaps as a culture, or as an organism, or as a brain, or as a psychological prism, or as a family, or as a political system. And when you think about your respective organization or your group in those respective contexts, what you can actually do is think about those moving parts and how do we get it to work? And it stimulates your creativity. I really like the idea because when I did this with my team, we came up with all sorts of wonderful ideas. We came up with the organisation as a beehive. Who was the queen and who are the workers and what does this actually mean? We came up as the organisation as a transportation system. When do the passengers get on? Who controls the passengers? Who collects the finance? And it was a really, really fantastic, stimulating, thought-provoking session that we had together. When you stimulate your ideas, when you add creativity and innovation to your ideas, it allows you to think out of the norm. I got a piece of research from the University of Washington where they use the organization metaphor as an iceberg. Now, if you think about it, I picked this one because I thought it was really quite simple to process. But if you think about an iceberg, there are pieces of the iceberg that you can see. Think about it. What's visible? What are the aspects of the iceberg that you can see in your respective organisation? You can see strategy, you can see objective, you can see policy, you can see procedure, you can see technology, structure, you can see informal and formal authority, you can see chains of command. Think about it and reframe that analogy to your own context. Perhaps you want to do it for your family, perhaps you want to do it for your community group, for your church organisation, or even for your business. Think about what are the visible things that you can see. Now take the same concept and think about what are the invisible things that you can't see, the hidden aspects of your organisation. You can't see attitude, you can't see perceptions, you can't see group norms, you can't see culture, you can't see interpersonal or intergroup conflicts. How do you navigate those situations? And what I found is when I think about the organisation as an iceberg, it kind of allowed me just to think differently and outside of the box. It allowed me to think differently about what my next steps will be, especially in this unprecedented times that we're living in. I also believe that creativity helps me personally to achieve massive breakthroughs. It helps me to think intentionally about breaking outside of the box of my limitations. It helps me to explore ideas and options. I remember when I was speaking at the Social Enterprise World Forum event in South Korea, I was able to take South Korean models of progress and models of progress that I had learnt in Washington at the same conference and put those two together so that by the time I came back to the UK, I was able to bring a different level of creativity, my thinking, and marry that with innovation, my doing, in order to come up with greater, better ideas that were more that had a better result than my original UK-based idea. And that's what I was saying about thinking differently outside of the box. Let's have a look at some international models of success, some international models that actually bear fruit. I want to bring to your attention a book that I've been reading, this one here, Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull. He's the one of the founding directors of Pixar. I want to quickly read something that he says about creativity and how he's used creativity as a founding characteristic in his organisation Pixar. It's a really great book if you want to kind of get into the meat of how does creativity work. How can you use creativity as a strategic objective in your organisation, especially in this time where everybody, the strongest of us and the weakest of us, have to pivot. Everybody has to pivot in this current circumstance. And if you want your business to survive, let's get more creative. Let's marry creativity and innovation. And let's see how we can break those limitations off of our organizations, off of our family, off of our faith groups, off of any community group that we are working in order to see progress. I hope you found this useful. Let me know. Thank you so much.